I'm Lisa Hugo, and I am obsessed with helping other people find their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, an expert, and grow their business by sharing that knowledge and expertise with others. Now, I studied performing arts and I spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, and then use these skills to build a business and a life that you love and that could change both your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things that are going to help you to build a life on your terms. This is Impact Through Voice. Well, welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mark Coles. He's a fitness professional, he's a business mentor, he's an author, and he's a coach, and he's very big into personal development. We're going to be covering how to grow your personal brand as a coach. We're going to talk about mindset, and we're going to talk about the power of your voice to make all of that happen. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Lisa, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. So I came across you. Actually, we got in touch not that long ago. And we had such a great conversation that I thought you have so much value to bring to my podcast. So I was really excited to get you on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was I came across you from one of my colleagues actually hearing you speak. So I love the way that everything comes together. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, sometimes things are just aligned the way they're supposed to. You recently moved to Dubai. Tell us about the journey, or actually I'd like to hear your personal journey. In short, then maybe it depends how long it's going to take us. But
okay, so
your background.
Well, I've been a coach for 25 years in the fitness industry this year. Started off much like most people coming into the fitness industry. I got in shape and found that the gym was my happy place. Was working in real estate with my father before and got qualified as a PT and left a degree in real estate. Much to I think my father's uncertainty for me, I just said, if I'm in somewhere that I'm happy and I feel that it's right place, I'll make a career of it. So with his backing, his support, I started off as a personal trainer and then within 5 years opened up my own facility. Another 5 years later, I'd got a bigger facility with 7-8 personal trainers. And every year I'm the type of person entrepreneurially that wants a bit more and a bit more. And my whole career started off with weight loss, and then it went from fat loss to helping people build muscle, to helping people do body transformations, and an evolving journey of coaching people to get better. Ended up with coaches then asking me, how have you gone on this journey? Social media and Instagram just started, what was that, 15 years ago now, roughly, I'd say. And I was getting clients left, right, and center asking me from different parts of the country, could you work with me? This wasn't called online coaching.
Oh, this was back in the UK.
Yeah. People say, how did you find online? How did you do the online coaching? So my journey essentially came from personal training into posting a few things on social media to everybody wanting to work with me. And then about 2 years, 3 years later, this online coaching thing developed.
Yeah.
Online coaching evolved. My gym evolved. I met my wife in London, and the life of independence and freedom started to come about, where I wasn't fixed to the gym. I had this online business as well. My brain started ticking about how different could life look. I was living in Nottingham in the UK, met my wife and moved to London, and then spending more time in London without having to be tied to the gym, I had this freedom developing.
Yeah.
And just towards the back end of lockdown, my wife and I came to Dubai. We'd been here plenty of times together. And I was going to invest in an apartment. And I looked at the apartment and I said, right, let's go for it. And he said, just call the office. It's just been taken. And we're on the way back on the flight. And I said, would you live here? And she went, yes. And I said, what's your vision? I'm big on vision planning, big on vision planning. So on the flight on the way back, we redesigned our vision. And I said, what do you want? She said, my vision for the future is to walk in the sun with my son. And I went, whoa. And it hit me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Dubai has everything that we want at this time, what it looks like. So we got home and we put the house on the market. And at the time, was it more of a, let's move to Dubai without I think a lot of people don't think deeply.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't think deeply. And it wasn't until I sat down with my tax advisors selling the company, and I wanted to do the thing. A lot of personal trainers, online coaches, they leave for the UK, don't shut down the business properly, don't do all the tax diligence, and then they get problems later down the line.
Okay.
I said, I'm doing it right. Spoke to my tax advisor, and he said, are you moving for the tax? And I said, good question. No.
You hadn't crossed your mind.
Well, I wanted to move because of me and my wife creating a vision that was outside of the UK.
Yes.
And a lot of people tell me they're moving because of the tax.
Oh, I hate that when people say, specifically, they can't say, well, you're there because you get a tax haven. And
I would live in the UK if it was all about tax.
Yeah.
I would live wherever I want to be. I would live. I would never. The tax advisor said to me, if you're moving for tax, question leaving. Because my dad was a very successful property developer, property investor, should I say. And he paid tax his whole life, made a lot of money, built a great property portfolio, great friends, never thought about living in the UK. So then it made me question, why are we leaving the UK? Mm-hmm. And what Dubai has provided for us since we've been here is far surpassed my expectations of not just opportunities, but calm, peace, diversity in cultures, as you know.
Yes.
But I find if there's one thing I tell people about Dubai is that everybody can live together happily. And I think that's what I'm most proud of being here now for.
I love that. It's true, though.
I got in a taxi with an Indian gentleman, and he just said, I love the fact that every religion can get on with each other.
Yes.
I've been all over the world, and they can't. They struggle to.
Yep.
In the UK, there's a lot of political problems. There's a lot of racial problems.
But here, everybody just lives in harmony together. And we respect each other's choices as well.
Well, you know, the challenges with Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law came over to see my wife, and my wife's Russian. And she was hanging out. We were hanging out with some friends who are Ukrainian by the pool here. And my sister-in-law said, they all talk to each other. And I said, why would they not? We didn't even consider it.
Yeah.
But there were Ukrainians and English and Russians all together. And my sister-in-law was blown away at how well they all hung out together.
Yeah.
I said, when there is nothing, no problem, there's nothing to discuss.
Yes.
And again, I'm not here for tax. I'm not here just for the sun, because the sun gets boring after a while, doesn't it?
Oh,
it's
I agree.
Normal.
We love it when it rains.
Yeah, it's normal. But I'm actually here for the peace, the calm, and the ability for everybody to live together. And of course, the tax side's a benefit. But in the UK, if tax was a problem, I'd just make more money.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a beautiful move, and something coming up to its second year now. It's the best thing we've ever done.
Love that journey. Well, I've been here 17 years and I still feel the same way.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
And we had a similar, not the same, we had an opportunity to come to Dubai. So we came for a look-see trip over one weekend and really tried to just dive in, look around, look at properties, get a feel for the city. And we came away saying, yes, we could live there.
Yeah, if you feel it, it's the right place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and a few months later, we sold the house, we packed up, and we were here. Exactly, yeah.
Love it.
So you joined into the coaching space right at the time, the online coaching space and mentorship, when it was starting to boom. So, that was a great time to get in.
Well, before.
Before, yeah.
I mean, I would say that I was one of the very early online coaches. There wasn't online. It wasn't called online coaching. It was personal training. It was, I was in Nottingham. I had a full personal training diary, and I posted some pictures of results that I've achieved on Facebook. And then inbox was, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And I went, like, what's this?
Yeah.
So all I did was just send them a program, and then every 2 weeks had a phone call with them for half an hour. That was how I did it. I just tried to replicate what I did with personal training. And then that just kept growing. And I kept posting my results that I'd achieved with personal training clients. It kept growing. And the funny thing is, the first person that said to me, can you help me with my online business? I went, I don't know how. You don't have any results.
Right.
And he was like, well, what do I do? And I said, I don't know. Because every result that I posted got me 3 to 4 clients.
Right.
Every result. And so I just kept getting better and better results. And then eventually, and this was as I was as an online coach, I wasn't teaching online coaching. Probably for 6 or 7 years, a lot of people stepped on the business mentoring and teaching people how to build online businesses. I then went to learn the digital marketing side because I wasn't being a digital marketer. I was a personal brand builder.
Right.
And I think this is the big difference for me is that I documented my journey, my physique, my knowledge, my expertise, and I documented the incredible results I was achieving. What I didn't realize is that my following was going up and up and up and up. I was talking about what I was learning because I was every 3 months I was on a plane, train, or car to study. And I was just documenting everything I was doing. And before I knew it, I got tens of thousands of followers, and I hadn't intentionally done anything.
Right.
But all these new clients were coming my way, and I was like, oh my God,
and then you didn't know what to do with them or how to nurture them.
Exactly. I started
or how to
studying.
make money from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I started studying Russell Brunson's work. And looking at, funnels and looking at systems and marketing, hiring different mentors in business and email marketing, and did all it on my own. Then started to get into Facebook ads and started like 8-week challenges and all this type of stuff. But even at that stage, I didn't know how to teach everybody else. I just literally started following and watching everybody. But the personal brand side, it wasn't until later on that I started to realize that I'd built a personal brand.
Yeah.
I just was documenting what came naturally to me. And I don't think anybody back then, 15 years ago, knew what marketing a personal brand was on social media.
No, because everything was new back then.
And now it's a process.
Yeah.
So
you are now coaching other people in this space.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that you would advise them to do? Let's say they are new. They don't necessarily have that personal brand established. They haven't documented like you did along the way. Where do they start?
So it's interesting because a good percentage of the coaches that come to see us, they are a blank canvas. Okay. I truly do believe that you have to intentionally make something of yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel that a coach who is not progressing, like we're fitness professionals. I'd like to think I look the part after 25 years. I'd like to think when a gentleman spoke to me in the swimming pool with my son the other day, and he said, lovely to me. He said, need some advice. You don't even know what I do. So physical appearance as a fitness professional matters. And he said, what do you do? On the flight away with my wife recently, what do you do? I spoke to a gentleman who was involved with Pakistan cricket. He said, are you in the fitness industry? Wanted to connect me. I was like, my body has created so many connections throughout my life. So my first thing as a fitness professional is you don't look the part.
Okay.
So the confidence to do videos on camera, the confidence to do content is let's start your journey. Let's find out what your own intentional journey is. Not necessarily who do you want to help, because a lot of them have low self-confidence.
Interesting,
yeah. You talk about voice. I can't project my voice if I don't believe myself.
That's so true.
Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel that the authenticity of your voice comes from what you believe and what you say. It's coming from a place of belief in what I'm actually saying. And a lot of personal trainers and online coaches want to go online. It doesn't take very long to start your own journey. 4 weeks, 6 weeks. You could lose 10% of your body fat, or you could lose 6 or 7 weeks. You could lose 6 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds. You could lose 3 to 4% body fat. And in that time frame, your body would look very different. You'd feel more confident. So my first advice to fitness professionals or anybody, if you're documenting your personal brand, is to get in shape.
Right.
To start documenting your journey.
See, I would have always just thought a personal trainer is going to be in shape.
Not always.
No.
Now, I'm not saying that they have to be, I went more down the muscular route and the bodybuilding route, but if my advice to anybody is your personal brand, how you look, talk, present, speak, your face, your beard, your hair, I just still think personal presentation. And if you're a fitness professional, it very much, for me, is documenting yourself as somebody leading from the front. And I think for me, I've led from the front all my life. And I'm very proud of that. But I come across a lot of people that lack confidence, but they lack confidence on camera because the lack of confidence comes from themselves. I see a big difference in coaches that are in shape, not just in shape, but are progressing. Because progress to me is a big indicator of confidence. And then the second thing is their knowledge. What are they learning currently? If they don't have any knowledge, they don't have anything to share. If they don't have anything to share, then there's nothing for anyone to buy into. So what they end up doing is they put pictures out or copying people's pictures, and then there's nothing really there. So documenting your own journey and and learning. I know this takes a little bit of time, but be intentional about how long it's going to take you to build your personal brand. Because I think a lot of people,
it can take years.
Well, 100%, and a lot of people want to do avatar, what's your target audience, and then start creating content to your target audience. I think that's a step too far advanced. I think that the first step for me is in this age that we're in now, I feel that the personal branding aspect, who you are, what you're presenting, what your own story is, what you're trying to do, that begins the personal brand aspect.
I think it has evolved significantly over the last, since COVID. I mean, COVID was an easy time for people to come into the market because everybody was online.
Absolutely.
And that's when this industry grew significantly.
It completely transformed our fitness industry.
But since it's now becoming more about who are you and how do I connect with you? And that's where the story comes in.
Yeah. And I believe that a lot of the problem nowadays is there's so much comparison of where somebody isn't, they've forgotten who they are.
I like that. I mean, I don't like it, but
it happens.
Yeah.
I find a lot of fitness professionals that we work with have lost themselves.
Yes.
In their attempt to, not their attempt, it's not intentional, but I don't watch TV and want to be everyone that I see on TV. But that's evolved. That's normal now. Social media, we're seeing a lot of ideals in people's eyes. Yeah. Private jets, holidays, we're seeing wealth, we're seeing, lives of people on a day-to-day basis. If you don't know who you are, you'll get lost. So even part of personal branding comes back to personal development. Be careful on social media, because if you go on there and create a personal brand and not know who you are, social media will turn you into whatever you watch.
That's powerful.
It will.
Yeah.
Let's look at it honestly. It has the power, and it's not social. People blame it. I don't think that social media does anything wrong. I think social media is probably like, I've made my wealth. I've built a brand. I'm impacting lives of thousands of coaches all over the world. It's phenomenal. But I think it has power that we really underestimate. I think it has huge power in it if you're not emotionally stable.
To have a negative influence, yes.
Of course it has.
Yes, of course it does. And there, I think when it comes to the younger generation who are spending all of their time on social media and are yet to build who they are and their personality, then when they're being constantly influenced, I think that's when it's detrimental.
Well,
or scary.
So I wouldn't say that is it detrimental? I would say it comes down to the individual. I always place blame on self, right? Because I think my personal view is people are like, social media does this wrong, social media does that wrong. TV's been around. EastEnders for years was portraying arguing and fighting and drinking and alcoholism.
Neighbours in Australia.
Of course it did. No, it did. Yeah. I watched Neighbours every evening. 4:30, whatever it was in the UK. And was it Charlene and all that stuff? Friends, same thing, right? So we can't blame social media. We're exposed to reality TV and documentaries for years.
Yeah. I actually remember I was modelling myself on Monica from Friends, you know.
Christ,
I had a similar look and I thought, I could be like her.
Well, look, David Hasselhoff, Baywatch, He-Man, She-Ra, all these kind of, I used to love He-Man. My brother loved the turtles, the muscles on the turtles. That could have instigated a lot of people going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I think that it comes down to personal responsibility. And in my opinion, we are never going to be, over the years, bodybuilding magazines, I could take one off the shelf when I was 17. So are bodybuilding magazines blaming steroid use? Well, hold on a minute. My dad drank every day. I watched my father drink, right? But ultimately, I believe that we've got to take
choices,
responsibility.
Yeah.
I think as an individual, there's a lot of people that end up alcoholics or, in abusive relationships or whatever. Yes, there's a lot of conditioning externally, but I feel that we are individually responsible. I found me, and I didn't know who I was till 30. From the age of 22, I went on such a huge personal development journey. And I basically opened up Pandora's box and I went, don't like all of that. Oh God, I've got to fix it. Because I went on a mission to change and turn me into who I knew I needed to be, not what I'd become conditioned to. I love my dad. But he grew up as a businessman, very successful property man, bit of a bigger drinker. I ended up being a bit of a bigger drinker. I was a rugby lad, and as I started to mold my way towards kind of who he was, I started to realize I was more moving myself further away from who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I feel that in modeling him for a period of time, it led me closer to, no, I want to be me. Then I resented a little bit of what he had become for a while, and I became that son that was a bit black sheepy.
Okay.
And still always very close to my mum and my dad, and now I don't drink. And, that's not because anyone's done anything wrong. It's because I pulled myself back. So I've found myself again. So I feel there's a lot of people that will go through their life, they're lost themselves, and they're guided down a route.
Mm-hmm. Could be through relationships,
could
people
be
they
government
meet.
Conditioning in the UK. It could be the tax system. It could be politics. Whatever they're hearing, they allow that to condition them.
Yes.
And then what I love about being in Dubai as well, there's no conditioning. If you've been able to build a life for yourself and you can move here, you're in control. And there's a lot of people we meet who are in control.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying there's a matrix thing, all right? What I'm saying is I find there's a lot of entrepreneurial people that have found themselves. They're in control. And there's a lot of people that are conditioned to a system. They're out of control. And I think that when you take the power back, you start learning about yourself, you start learning about business, you start learning about life, then you have the power to create a life. And I believe that life is something that you design, but you need to find you first. And then the journey is building it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's what I try and do outside of just helping coaches make money online. It's helping them to find themselves again and then go on this journey to build this wonderful thing.
Yeah. And so you're working mostly with personal trainers in the fitness space, at least.
95% of the work that we do is with either personal trainers transitioning to build an online business or actual people wanting to start an online coaching business as their first and primary business.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be in the fitness space then.
Majority of who we work with is all fitness coaches.
But I feel like everything that you're talking about today crosses across into any industry as a coach.
I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people over the years outside of the fitness industry because my journey over the last 25 years is one of, forget fitness, it's one of personal involvement, it's one of personal development, it's one of entrepreneurship, it's one of abundance and freedom. And if you package that up into whatever it is, a lot of people want that. So I've taken a skill that wasn't a skill. I've turned it into a profession and a reputation. I've monetized it. And then I've decided with the monetary side of it to create a life of freedom and independence. Let's take the fitness industry out of it. I think there's a lot of people, if they were sat in this room with you and I right now, would be like, oh, how have you done that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is.
Well, I've been on a similar journey where, going from being in a space similar to you, where you're going into a space, you're meeting people every day, but it's not fulfilling you anymore. And then you want to find something else, and then shifting that into growing more to help more people globally and being able to shift into an online model and then really growing that financially as well as helping more people. And then people ask, well, how do you do it? And that's
I think the natural involvement of how do you do it?
Yeah.
And for me, the ability with the online space to impact thousands of people means that there's a space for everybody if you want to keep climbing.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
And whether you're in the same industry together, it comes back to the personal brand and your voice, which separates you.
Yeah. So speaking about voice, you reached out to me a few weeks ago because you find that people in this space, the voice is one of the aspects which is missing or held back? Let's talk a little bit about that conversation that we had.
Yeah, I love speaking on camera and sharing and teaching, and it comes from a very true and authentic place that I've spent a lot of introspective work trying to find.
Sense that.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to find who I am and what differentiates me from other people. When a young coach, 22, 24, comes into our world and wants to build an online business, they want to build an online business. They want to make more impact. They want to make more money. But the thing that's going to help them to do that is by being a presence and being a voice to a particular type of audience online. But they don't know who they are yet.
Right. So going back to building your own personal brand.
They don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Right. And when you ask them to speak on camera, they have a huge comparison syndrome to everybody out there, which gives me the clarity that you still don't know who you are. Because if you know who you are and you know what you got to share, then the noise outside is very much silenced. My father, late father, said to me, I said, Dad, I've never heard you worry about other people. He said, I'm too busy building my thing.
Yeah, that's great
Comparison
advice.
was never a thing for my father. He was so focused. I believe that coaches don't have a vision. I don't believe they have the clarity of who they want to help. And I don't believe they have confidence and conviction in themselves because they get very lost. So, yeah, one of the reasons I reached out to you was what I'm trying to do in the fitness industry is not give coaches a template of how to build an online business, how to do a reel, how to send messages, book calls, do sales calls. That's the tactical stuff. Who you are and what you're presenting and what your voice is what's going to help you be here in 10 years' time. The voice is something to evolve. As we know, we're not trying to get it to be perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an evolving. As I mature, I said to you, I wrote a book a few years ago. And when I read it, sometimes I go, my God, I'm so different. I accept I'm different. My first post was not as good as my current post. But the voice, finding your voice, trying to find your true authentic self and trying to find what your purpose and position is on a planet Earth. It's a very deep thing to say to somebody, but I believe that if you've had 20 years on this planet, it's not too young to know that you have a mission. Mark Zuckerberg at 18 realized he wanted Facebook. He wanted to create Facebook. Ben Francis creating Gymshark. Young people.
Yeah.
But they just knew they had a purpose. At 22, I knew I needed to be in a gym.
Yeah.
Because the gym gave me confidence, and the rest of my whole life is about helping somebody feel this confidence that I felt from the gym. So I find that a lot of people have lost themselves in the journey to where they are today. And one of the things that we want to do is help them refine them. And then it makes the voice become a lot easier to present.
Yeah, one of the things that I teach in my webinars is worrying about the competition. Yeah. That's one of the things which is going to hold you back, and you're not focused on who you are, but you're trying to be like everybody else and hope that that's going to get you there. And I love what you're saying about the fact you have to find your authentic self, because people will connect with you when you're real, and people can spot fake from a mile away.
Fake is the same. Okay, I think there's a lot of people who are, there's this saying, fake it till you make it. But I think fake it and you'll be found out. And there's a when I say found out, is it fake it has a shelf life. Okay.
But when it comes to the speaking space and let's say the acting space, I think there's some truth in that though, because you have to get out there and you have to do it. You have to put on that air of confidence, even if inside you're not feeling confident, to be seen, to be heard.
But there's no longevity to fake it.
No,
because in the early days, of course, I completely agree with you. In the early days, you've got to go out there and speak from a tongue that believes what they're trying to say. Even just yet, you're dying inside because you're nervous. But if it's coming from a place of authenticity, but you're nervous, it's very different from coming from a place of teaching something that you have no clue about, but it's fake.
Oh, of course.
Do you see what I mean? So when I say, fake it till you make it, there's a lot of people who go out there and just absolute rubbish, and they try and do it over and over again. They wonder why they're not growing. It's like because it's not authentic, it's not true, it's not real. Now, you could have a nervous person that's true and real, and then they grow in confidence. But I still think it's coming from a true and real place, that you're putting on that fake confidence to start with, but it's coming from a place of knowledge, confidence, and self-awareness.
Yes, yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
So I think that from a coaching perspective, what we try and do is we try and help coaches connect with themselves being enough as they are right now. Not, this is where I want to be, so now because I'm not there, I'm not enough. No, you are. And I want you to see the beauty in the last 20 years. I want you to see how many training sessions you've done, how many people you've helped, how many books you've read, what you know. Wow. And then I want them to say, I am great. I am good.
I do this exercise with people as well.
I want you to see you're good.
Write it down, all of the achievements that you've had throughout your life, down to the little things that you might have forgotten. And then you look back on that and it's like, wow.
GCSEs, passing your car test, whatever it may be, swimming badges. I look back and realize how many gymnastic awards I got, judo awards I got, rugby awards I got. I'm like, wow.
Give yourself self-love.
Yeah. Give yourself self-love for what you've achieved. Because I think a lot of people have put in the bin what they have achieved, right? Then when you go, wow. And I do this with the coaches, wow. And be proud of you. But then the other thing about their voice is the fact that whoever they're trying to speak to, they don't have to be 10 years ahead of them. They only need to be a few yards ahead of them to be of value to them.
That's right.
So if, as a professional coach, I only need to be slightly ahead of you. If I've been losing weight for 5 years and you've never been able to lose weight, then I'm 5 years ahead of you.
Yep.
And I've gone through 5 years worth of trial and error with weight loss. And whether I'm a weight loss coach or not, if I sit down and talk to you and share some advice about what's worked for me and you try it and you lose 10 pounds, then that's advice. That's not professional advice. That's just friendly advice. So I feel that once coaches then lower the noise, and we need to identify what is the noise, lower the noise, connect with your true self, acknowledge who you've been in the past, and then get very clear with who you want to help aligned with your experience, knowledge, and skill. It takes a while, but it brings them back to a place where they go, I'm enough to go out there with the voice that you've given me here.
You know, you're sharing advice which is valuable for me. I need to hear this today as well. I think so many people who'll be listening to this need to hear this. It's so valuable, Mark.
It's imagine that, and we're putting it right back into the mic. I've done it. Like, wow, like I've been doing this for 25 years, 15 years online. Like, I lost myself 6 months ago. All right, I'll tell you. I had a very respected real estate gentleman come to one of our events, and when I heard him speak about his portfolio and the business and what he does, my brain went, "Wow, I got to get bigger with property. I've got to get bigger at property. I've got to get bigger at property," because I was subjecting what he was telling me about what he's got, and I want to start doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So I became distracted. And I started looking at property, becoming very unfulfilled with what I was doing in my own business. And I was looking at where I should be making my next investment and looking at this and considering the house I bought in Dubai, maybe selling it now and taking the money for it. And what was I doing? And I'd lost myself. And this is a guy that's been doing it for years. And I went to speak to a lady that I have a call with her, personal development coach of mine. She listens and she went, "Where's all these stories come from?" And they were just subjecting in. Huge respect for the gentleman that we learned from and still do today. But I've conditioned myself to not yet do certain things with property until, and I know when the time, right. I've told them, I know when I'm doing it. And I'd basically started creating a different narrative and a different story, which was away from the true vision.
Which takes you away from what you really need.
So what started to happen, I started to become unfulfilled.
Right.
And the feeling
Plus
of unfulfillment.
your clients would become unfulfilled as well, right? Because
you could
your
start
focus
to feel,
isn't where it needs to be.
It wasn't. Now, it was only for a couple of months. But I started to wake up in the morning starting to feel unfulfilled. I've got a great business. I've got a great team. Mm-hmm. And I shared this with my team, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I'm normal, just like everybody else. Everybody watching this episode is normal, just like noise gets in the way. But the power in me is it didn't last very long.
Yes. And I think that's where you have developed yourself to understand those signs and signals.
Signs and signals of we will lose ourselves. This is why, to me, the word is emotional stability. If I hear noise, I fix it. So one of the hardest things you'll ever find in your life is having a vision and sticking to it. When you have a crystal clear vision, I am so inspired, energized, and fulfilled in my life right now. No noise comes in. But when that noise came in, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and subjected to what somebody else's vision was. Somebody else's vision was to build a multi-million dollar real estate empire, right? And part of me was like, is that the route that I should be going down? And when I use these words should, subjective, into my world, I started to lose touch with, no, my journey is building this. And I've done it for a long time and I'm very good at it.
I love that.
Yeah. And then I spoke to my personal development coach and she was like, So I started to tell her what my brain was saying. She was like, good. You got it.
So you're basically talking yourself
I talked myself into a back out of it.
Yeah.
So the reason I got in touch with her is because I knew I was off.
Yeah.
But it helps me to have somebody listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then they go, realign.
Yeah.
And I went, cool. So I went back and rewrote my vision plan, sat down and talked to my wife, talked to her about my vision plan. And there was a couple of things in it that I needed to stretch a little bit further. And last few months, there's no distraction. So I think that a lot of people give in to the distraction, become very unfulfilled and change course. And when they change course to do something else, it's not necessarily that they actually inspired by that course. It's because they've subjected what somebody else's vision is into their own. And that's a dangerous place to be, because you're then living somebody else's life rather than your own. And that's what I found at that time, just for a short period of time, that I'd just become distracted. You know, and as my late father always said, he never was distracted because his vision was bigger than today. And he wanted to leave a legacy in the property world in the UK. And not long before he passed away, he was accredited with an amazing award in the UK for his work. But I just sat there and I went, you've done 40 years at this and you've not been distracted. And there's a lesson in that for me. You know, if the vision is powerful enough, distraction won't be a bother. And that's what I think. If I become distracted, the vision needs to be bigger.
So what is next for you?
Worldwide, continued growth with what we're doing. The company itself is evolving and it's growing. For me, it's impacting thousands of the lives of coaches around the world to build high value, not just high monetary worth businesses. It's high value, high impact coaching brands that serve and coach people. There's a lot of fitness professionals that have built online coaching businesses, helping clients with diets. I help coaches build company structures. Okay. What inspires me is it's not just checking in with your coach on a Friday, it's building a company. You know, there's actually, the fitness industry is not just a personal training session. Though. Pardon?
Not everybody wants that, I think.
No, my goal is to help them to continue to evolve with that.
Okay.
The end goal for a lot of coaches is building a company. A lot of coaches, because they run out of time. When you are in the service industry and you're coaching and you have a goal of it building a bigger business, it really becomes about replicating you and building a team structure alongside of you. If your goal is impact, if your goal very, very clearly is not large impact, it's just one-man band and you, I believe that a company will be the result of continual growth.
True.
It eventually has to be if you want to scale.
Yeah.
Like the reason people want to scale, it's like a body. If you've done weight loss and you've done fat loss, you're going to want to see what it's like to put a bit of muscle on. Then when you put a bit of muscle on, you're like, well, I wonder what a transformation's like. So for me, I've always been about helping somebody exceed their expectations. And I find that with a coach, once a coach starts making $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and then they're like, I'm struggling to make above that. I'm like, do you know it's because you haven't got any time? So why don't we delegate some of your clients to another coach, hire a coach? Wow, this is a company involvement. So helping coaches build their brand and then build it more into a company structure. I do agree with you. Not everybody wants to do that. And that becomes a ceiling in their relationship with us.
Okay.
Because where else do you go once you've got to a monetary figure and you built a great company that's one-man band?
But some people are happy with that because it gives them, I guess, more freedom.
Absolutely.
Because the more you add on to your business, the more there is tension and you're tied into it.
Yeah. My inspiration, you see, within my company, we've got a a good number of coaches that actually mentor the coaches that are doing under certain revenue brackets. So my goal is to continue to grow the company and to have more and more and more coaches underneath certain levels of coaches that we're serving all over the world. That's the plan, to have one of the most reputable, high value, high earning coaching education programs for fitness professionals in the world.
Amazing.
It's the plan.
Mark, you've written a book.
Yeah.
It's called
Level Up.
Okay. And is it available for people if they want to go and find
Amazon.
it, even though you say you've evolved?
Yeah. It's on Amazon. It's on all the normal places that you could find, Kindle, et cetera. And it was really written to help fitness professionals understand how excellence plays a huge role in your progression through your personal life, your professional life, and your physical life.
Sounds incredibly valuable.
Excellence to me is, as we spoke off camera, as Sheikh Mohammed said, excellence doesn't have a finish line, which is why Dubai will never have a finish line.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I also love about being here. It's evolving.
Yeah.
And I'm an evolving entity. I'm not finished at all.
I think we all have to be. You're always striving to be better. We are never perfect.
Well, that's why I want to help coaches ultimately build company structures, because ultimately the route beyond self is people, team. If you want to make a big amount of impact, you can't do it on your own. Now, there are a lot of coaches for the next 2 to 3 years that will do everything on their own. But eventually they will get stagnant because doing everything on your own gets a bit frustrating.
Absolutely.
So if you're entrepreneurial,
yes,
there are some people that aren't, and that's absolutely fine. But when I end up working with somebody that's got to a certain point, that's got one coach, two coaches, like my whole journey, that's why Level Up was written. My whole journey has been about constant growth, trying to find another way to improve myself, whether it's been my body, my business, or my brain. And I think from a personal development perspective, we can evolve. From a body perspective, we can evolve. From a relationship perspective, we can evolve. And if that's what we've been given in life is an evolving entity until we die, why wouldn't you make the best of it and push its boundaries in a way that doesn't, are not unhealthy, but in a way that fulfills you. I'm just in search of, 7 days a week being extremely fulfilling rather than, 5 days and then desperate for the weekend.
And is it also about leaving something behind once you're gone, or is it about making the most of who you are today? Because once you're gone, you're gone. But
it's interesting because there's a lot of people that I know that are heavily legacy led. Since my son's come into the world 9 months ago, in terms of leaving, things for him to give him his step up in life, that's massively important to me. In terms of leaving an impact on the fitness industry, I want to do everything I can while I'm here, but I also respect the fact that it's an evolving entity and it will keep growing past when I'm gone. But if I can impact and leave my impact now for what it will be in years to come, that's why I know I've got a second book in me, which will be a lot more rounded towards maybe not always fitness professionals in everything that I've learned. But I'm not the legacy side of stuff for me in terms of, 20, 30, 50 years. I think if I do everything that I can today, that there'll be a natural legacy with the work that I've done, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, so another book in the making. Hopefully. Somewhere. Yeah. Okay, we'll be waiting for that. What about books that you could recommend before we wrap up for today?
Gosh, there's a lot of different topics.
Well, let's stay in the personal development.
Yeah. Do you know a book that Dr. John DeMartini?
Yes.
Is somebody that I've learned from personally, multiple times, and I've read everything that he's written. But he taught me many, many years ago that life has two sides, in that there's ups and there's downs, there's pros and there's cons, there's good and there's bad. And to basically live your life with an open heart and not be weighted too much one way or the other and live in the middle. And therefore, whenever I'm faced with a situation, I'm looking at the pros and the cons, the ups and the downs, and I live a very balanced perspective life. It's helped me to be very, very calm. It's helped me to look at, situations with my wife, in my business, in my relationship, rather than just being, no, it's like this, trying to understand other people and understand different perspectives and trying to find the balanced perspective in life. And that's helped me immensely. And he wrote a book called The Breakthrough Experience, which absolutely transformed my relationship with understanding values, that we all live our lives by a set of values, not, what do I value? Kindness, genuinity, but what do I value the highest? What is the stuff that I want to talk about? I could do a podcast with you. I'll always come back to me and who I've become and how I've helped shape me and other people, as opposed to the podcast is just about money. So he teaches us to understand that what you talk about the most, or like to bring conversations back to the most, is what you truly value the most. And when we actually realize that we are living our life in accordance with what we value, it's important that we're not subjecting and trying to pull everybody else into ours, because everyone's trying to live their own. So living a life according to your own values and having a very balanced perspective in life. Dr. John DeMartini's books called The Values Factor and also The Breakthrough Experience are two books that I think have been incredibly transformative to me through my life. And I know for everybody else, if you start to read them.
I haven't read them, but now they'll be on my reading list.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just, once you understand values and hierarchy of values and understand how much perspective plays a part in our decision making, and why people do things. One of the big things as a fitness professional, I've had to understand, why do people do things? Why do people not eat their healthy food when they don't want to be fat?
Simon Sinek, what's your why?
Well, exactly. There's another great book. But again, when you understand, John DeMartini says when the why is big enough, the how takes care of itself. And it's the same for me at the end of the day. Like when there's clarity and certainty and conviction, you'll find your way towards what you want out of life. When there's not, you'll be sent challenges.
Mark, this has been such a rewarding conversation. I think we could go on and on, but I have got so much personally from the conversation today, and I'm sure everybody who's listening will as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing. And we look forward to that new book when
And we look forward to having you at our event as well.
I'm looking forward to being at your event and sharing and helping your audience to build their confidence through their voice.
Very much so. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Impact Through Voice podcast. Now, if you've reached the end of this episode, then it means you're enjoying the podcast. So I have a quick favor to ask. If you haven't yet subscribed, please go and do it now and even leave us a review, because it really does help us so much to reach more people and impact more people. And I would be very, very grateful. Now, I love to read all of your comments about the show and what you're enjoying, what you would like to hear more of. So please take the time and go and do that now. When you do that, please take a screenshot and then tag me on Facebook or Instagram. That's Lisa Hugo Official. Now, I'm going to be sure to share your post, and I'm also going to private DM you with a thank you. And it also means you won't miss an episode. And as a subscriber, then you're going to get access to more content that we don't even open up to everybody. So thanks again. And until next time, keep on working towards your goals and making a positive impact on the world with your voice.